Okay, we are live. However, I don't see anybody joining us just yet. So, we'll wait until we get some people here. That's strange. Okay, there's a couple people watching now. Let me go here. Hey everybody, give me a second here to get all this stuff working. Click on stuff. Being a one-man band. Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? So, hey Tommy, hey Rod, hey Mike, hey Krager, hopefully I got your name right. Sorry. Hey, DeFlores? Cool. You guys all have cool names. I was stuck with Mark. I've always felt Mark is the most boring name. Anyways, thank you for joining episode 4 of Let's Talk Homelessness, where every week anything could change, including the title, because I'm just not sold on Let's Talk Homelessness. Hey, Charlie will be on in a second. So tonight, thanks for the segue. Tonight, we have a special guest who I've been talking about it on Twitter and Facebook that we're going to have an expert about Los Angeles homelessness. And no, it is not. Here, let me put up the chat now that some of you guys are in there. So the expert on Los Angeles homelessness we're going to have join us in a minute is not a politician, not a research professor with some new data about homelessness, not a nonprofit executive talking about their work in ending homelessness. This is a friend of mine who we met online, and I was lucky enough to go to dinner with him a couple months ago, who lives outside in Pasadena. And I have huge respect for Charlie, because I have huge respect for all homeless people. But he's taking the added step to really document homelessness in Pasadena and Los Angeles. And there's a link in the description to his YouTube channel. Please subscribe, please share. There's also a GoFundMe page for Charlie that is in the link below, and I can personally vouch for the man. He is amazing. So we're going to go. I'm going to bring Charlie on for a minute. And hey, hello from Jordan. Gosh, it must be late there. Where's everybody from? Oh, so I tried all these. So every week I'm trying to improve because of other mistakes. And this week is no different. And I'm trying some new equipment and I'm messing it up. And the only reason I'm trying new equipment is I'm trying to make everything look and sound better. So hold on one second. Hey, from Scotland. That's great. So I got to put on the headset and I'm going to bring in Charlie. Hey, Charlie.
Hi, Mark.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's a true honor. We connected online, like I said in the lead-in. Then we have a support group for homeless people, and you part of that. And then when I was in Los Angeles recently, some wonderful donors gave us an evening at a fancy restaurant, and I got to meet you in person.
Yes.
So Really great. You want to briefly tell everybody where you're going to be sleeping tonight?
In an abandoned building, behind in an abandoned building, here in Pasadena, California, on a very cold evening tonight, roughing it with a sleeping bag and some blankets.
Now, you were in a tent. You used to put up a tent every day, right?
Yes.
Now, what was that like?
Tedious. And the city frowns on that, so that's nixed. Can't have that. Can't have that.
So it was just easier to...
It's easier to do sleeping bag and blankets, and that way you won't get harassed by the local police, because they don't want it to be an eyesore.
Yeah.
Excuse me. There's a helicopter coming over.
I miss Los Angeles. I remember when I first moved to Los Angeles in 1987, I actually couldn't sleep because of the helicopters overhead. So I don't know how I didn't get much sleep homeless. So, I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, gosh, people think they have this assumption that Los Angeles doesn't get cold, that Southern California doesn't get cold, but it does.
It gets cold, yes. I think for us Californians, we're so spoiled sometimes because of the weather so warm late in the season, especially like it has been now. So anything below 58, it gets cold. For me, at least, it does.
Yeah. Well, I've seen snow, and when I worked the winter shelters, and I didn't work the winter shelter last year, but I happened to be in Los Angeles for several months. There was a huge amount of rain. I mean, it was almost like a monsoon, and then there was about almost 10 years ago where I took a camera and stood in front of the armory because they were kicking people out during the day, and it was flooding, and it was just horrible.
Yeah. It gets pretty bad. I feel sorry for when the shelter is open. You see a track of people literally coming down here in Pasadena on South Fair Oaks. It's a parade of homelessness because it's already about 6:30 in the morning, almost 7 after they've had their coffee and breakfast, and everybody gets kicked out into the rain if it happens to be unfortunately raining.
Yeah.
It's not a nice sight to see.
And from my understanding, there's a cold weather shelter on Lake.
Yes, there was actually
Lake Avenue, for those of you that don't know Pasadena.
I had vlogged on my channel and said that they weren't going to open, but they had, it seems, changed their mind. I believe after January 2nd, it's only going to be cold weather activated. So when the temperature drops below 50, then they will open the doors for people. Wow.
Is it 50? Because I know in some communities where there's snow and it freezes, they don't even open the cold weather shelter until it gets below 32.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been outside?
Well, I'll be coming up. I was off the streets for about 6-7 months. I was lucky enough actually to meet a lady, got into a relationship, but the relationship was, I guess, her father had passed away, her mother had fractured her hip, and when we met on this dating site, she knew about me, my situation. She came. We were talking for a while, and she wanted to meet me, so she came by, picked me up. I went to her house for the weekend, and then maybe every 2 days she would come and pick me up, and this was from Palmdale. And then finally, after about maybe 2 weeks of dating, she said, "Why don't you just move in with me?" And I said, "Well, are you sure?" And she said, "Yeah, sure." I go, "Do you know what you're getting yourself into?" She said, "Yeah, sure."
Now, you were homeless at the time?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. So
Yes.
I haven't been homeless in 22 years. And whenever I tell somebody I'm dating that I was homeless, it's like you can hear the record, scratch, and I never hear from them again. So God bless you, Charlie. That's amazing.
Well, I have to be honest because I don't want there to be any surprises. No lies, nothing hidden, no secrets. This is who I am. Take me as I am.
Yeah, I'm that way too on the dating sites, and it's actually homelessness. Well, let's just say it. Whether you're looking for work, whether you're looking for a significant other. People have this stigma about homelessness, and I know I've got almost a canned response to people when they leave a comment in one of the videos saying get a job. I say, do you know anybody that's hiring homeless people, that's hiring them with enough money that they can go and rent an apartment?
Yeah.
So if you're going to say get a job, like it's that easy for somebody to get off homelessness, then, you should know the reality. It's not easy to get off the streets.
No, it's not.
So you've been trying to get off the streets of Pasadena for how long now?
Actually, I ended up back out on the streets on Pasadena December 1st, which I remember very well because it was a Saturday. I came back to the library. I came between my two friends and I said to them, I'm back,
So almost a year ago, you've been on the streets of Pasadena for a year.
For about a year now again, yes.
Yeah.
For exactly a year, yes. But prior to that, it was a year and a half.
Wow. And when you first, I don't know if it was when you first, I don't remember exactly when we first met, Charlie, online, but you had just got out of the hospital and you were badly beaten up and you were vlogging about that. I mean, you looked in pain and horrible. Oh my gosh. And you had the courage to share that on video. And I remember at the time, it was a different Charlie, and understandable because you were mad at the world back then, and you're like happy. Yeah. You're happy.
I had just started getting over separation, over divorce, and was starting to be in a happy place, and then I was assaulted, and then I went back to that dark corner again.
Yeah.
Started drinking again very, very heavily. I was blogging, just very angry at the world. I mean, it was another homeless person that beat me up, which is not very uncommon out here on the streets. Homeless attacking homeless and, Well,
when you're dealing with drug addiction and mental illness, the normal rules don't apply. And then there's, all these stressors. I mean, that's why I've got to commend you, Charlie, because, every time we've talked over the last 6 months, you're in a good mood, and people on this, hurting people hurt people. And when you're on the streets, you're hurting. It's hell. So I commend you. That's,
Well, it's like I say, it's very hard to put on this facade every day. I have a small group of friends. I try to be as positive as possible, even though there's other hopeless people that are around that are angry at the world, understandably so. But we want to be as happy as we can with each other. And, we have our moments. We fight and argue with each other, but then we always congeal back together. But we don't want to make each other miserable. It's hard enough as it is to be out here on the streets without having to be moody with each other.
Yeah. Tommy, I know you are on a fixed income, and I love you for donating. And I know $2 is like $1 million for most people, so I'm grateful. I'm grateful. But please, my goodness, Tommy, keep that money. I know you're on fixed income, getting out of homelessness. God bless you. So Tommy's giving on Super Chat. It's a feature here. Jeez, it's not why I'm here. I'm here to educate the general public about homelessness. And if you have a question for Charlie or for me, think about it. I'm gonna talk to Charlie for a while longer, and if you have questions, we'll get to anything that's on your mind that's reasonable. I don't know what the price of Bitcoin is going to be, and I don't know the winning lottery numbers and stuff like that. The topic for tonight is homelessness. So you've been on the streets for a year.
Yes.
Isn't there homeless services? I mean, go ahead.
We have a place out here, Union Station, which was the main homeless center for people. About maybe 2 years, a little over 2 years ago, they were always open. They always had their doors open for everybody. You could go in the morning, have breakfast. Once you had your breakfast, then you exited, and then you would line up to take showers. And it was based on a lottery situation. For some reason or another, it was still never really made clear. But then they, just about 2 years ago, they shut their doors for general services for the homeless. Unless you had an open case, say for like housing or whatnot, then you could go in, get breakfast, have lunch, have a hot shower. But they had shut their doors for general services for homeless.
Well, so let me back up a little bit. There was a lottery. You know, here I was just joking. We can't answer lottery numbers, but so like you have, let's say,
yeah, it was basically a lot of to take a shower.
So you have 100 homeless men, well, maybe homeless women. I don't know if it's co-ed. I've been to Union Station. I haven't been there recently. And so y'all get like a ticket and 50 of you get a shower and the rest get turned away?
I'm not really sure because I had never participated with them. The only time I had ever been there was like maybe my first week out on the streets. I went to go get a blanket from them. And the disparity, the sadness was too much for me to handle, and I didn't really want to have anything to do with it. I was already in a dark place enough, let alone being around a group of other folks that were in a dark place.
Yeah. So I had the same, you know, when I was on the streets, I did the same thing. Is that there was in Los Angeles, in Hollywood at the time, everybody slept by the Pantages Theater. There's now a gate above that. I mean, we used to joke that you could count the bugs in the carpet because all of us were sleeping in there. And the main reason, and I want to say it was, I think it was exactly what you're talking about just now, is that you know, I ended up being by myself, and I think I was worried that if I was around this other group of homeless people that I would end up being more like them. And what I mean more like them is many of them had given up. Like you said, it was a lot of despair. It was depressing. And so I didn't hang out. And that's why you didn't connect with that particular day center.
Right. And it's very easy after you've been out here for a while it's very easy to just throw your arms up in the air and just give up and just fall into more or less being a permanent fixture out on the streets.
Yeah. So now, because Union Station is a good place, Just like anything, they're doing the best they can with what resources they have. But you're saying they stopped doing the day center and they went to other types of services?
Yes.
And,
So unless you have a pending case.
So unless you were working with a housing person, you weren't able to access services. But the catcher to that was the housing people actually putting people into housing. And I know, again, I'm not talking about Union Station. I'm talking about homeless services in general. They would love to get you into housing, but housing is rare. So it's not that simple to get somebody from housing. So I know a little bit about Pasadena because I lived there. I wasn't on the streets there, but outside of Union Station, was there any other services?
There is I think on Los Robles and Washington, there is a women's shelter there. And I think, there is. Yes, there's a women's shelter there as well.
I think that's Union Station too.
Yes, that's part of Union Station services.
Yeah.
It's not very big, but at least it's something.
Yeah. Where I'm trying to get at is Pasadena probably has. I should have looked it up actually. I spent the time trying to do this cool thumbnail graphic of you, which delayed the show about 10 minutes, but I got it up. And what I should have been doing is looking up homeless numbers. I mean, Pasadena probably has to have 1,000 or more, I would think.
Yeah. There's a lot, and every day it's almost like we see like maybe 2 or 3 new faces every day here in Pasadena.
Wow. Well, that's the big thing is that homeless services has really gotten better at helping people, but it's still broken, and there's so many homeless people entering into homelessness. And for many years, homeless services focused on the chronic homeless, which I call the back door, and then they left the front door wide open. So, So tell me, walk me through a day.
Typical day. I have a little side job. I get up around 5:30 in the morning, fold up my blankets, stuff them in a black trash bag, roll up my sleeping bag, go stash it in our hiding spots in bushes or wherever, but we have our own little spot. At least I do. And my day begins and I go and do my little side job for about an hour and a half, and then I go to the library, check my email, check YouTube, try to keep up with the news and everything, try to keep up with your videos, and then try to look for work, and and then I'll do a video if I'm not too down to the dumps.
Yeah. Well, I'm smiling because you say you keep up with Invisible People videos, and I'm grateful, and you're part of the community. And Hebrew just said that he's on the streets of Savannah. I assume that's Savannah, Georgia. Hey 50 Hats, we have a online support group. It's on Facebook. You can find it at wearevisible.com. It's just for homeless people or people who were once homeless with lived experience. So if you weren't homeless and you're not homeless now, please don't go there. It's just for homeless people and formerly homeless people. But Hebrew, if you're out on the streets of Savannah, we'd like to connect with you. Do you mind saying what your job is in the morning, the little job that you do? If you don't want to say,
I'd rather not, because I just don't want maybe people coming out and look for me, and
exactly.
I just don't. I just don't want the attention to interfere with what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. Because somebody actually talked. One of the things I asked people is where you slept last night. I think we even started off this conversation like that. And you're going to give me a generic answer. And yeah. I've learned from interviewing homeless people for 8 years, there's security reasons, and you guys and girls are not going to divulge where you are sleeping because you don't want people to come mug you, grab you, steal your stuff or whatever. So I fully, totally understand that. But you work a little bit and you get some money and you look for work and you're trying to get out of homelessness.
Yes, but I do have some special news for you. As I said.
Yeah, so I'm just guessing here now. Charlie has some news. I have no idea what it is. He said that he wanted to share on the show. It could be he found a $5 bill on the ground. It could be Donald Trump invited him to the White House. I don't know. But I had a feeling it was really big, so I didn't ask him about it. So, Charlie, the floor is yours. Tell us what your news is.
And it couldn't have been on a more perfect time with you interviewing me, and I haven't even told anybody on my channel yet. I was going to wait till tomorrow because I kind of was teasing everybody, and I wanted to make sure that all my ducks were in a row. So today, as I said, I was in Hollywood today. I hadn't been in Hollywood today since Robin Williams had passed away. I went to go visit his star when he passed away. So I went to Hollywood, and I'm now employed, Mark.
You're what?
I got a job. a job.
You got a job.
Today, sir. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Again, we won't divulge what type of job it is, but do they know your situation?
Oh, yeah. It's food and beverage.
But they know you're on the streets?
No, they don't.
Okay, so you've got to hide that for a while. So
yeah,
how are you going to manage that? Oh, well, first off, congratulations, Charlie. That is awesome. And it's not an easy thing to do, looking for work when you're homeless. But oh my gosh, how are you going to manage it, and how can I help?
It won't be too hard. There's a YMCA down in San Marino where I could go take a shower for $2.50, and it won't be a problem. It won't be a problem. The only problem for right now will be having the money for public transportation. That's about it until I get my first paycheck. But other than that, maintaining myself, I do a good job of maintaining my hygiene and everything.
Yeah.
I do my best not to look homeless, because it's hard enough to be homeless without looking homeless and being treated in such a manner, you know?
Yeah.
But it won't be really a problem. Just the transportation. That's about it.
So what is a bus pass these days?
It's I think a little over $100. A day pass is $7 a day.
So $100 for a month?
Yes.
Well, Invisible People will buy you a bus pass.
Oh, God, Mark.
So I'll put it in your GoFundMe, or if there's another way you'd rather receive that, we'll take care of that. And maybe somebody else watching this will hit your GoFundMe page down below. In fact, Tommy, I appreciate that you donated $2. However, in shows like this, it's Charlie that needs the love.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. And oh wow. I am so excited for you.
And it's It's a it's a Zagat 4.6 rated restaurant, so it's a really, really high-end restaurant.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah,
Very,
and
very. And
I
that's
interviewed here in Pasadena, and I went for fill out my paperwork today in Hollywood, and I had been out of the job market for 9 years because after my daughter was born, I have a seizure disorder. And I was assistant manager at Harry and David. Do you remember Harry and David stores?
I do. That's that's the fruit thing.
Yes, we had a brick and mortar store here in Pasadena at the Paseo, Colorado. And I had a seizure, fell while I was unloading a truck, cracked my head open. My ex-wife asked me to stay home and just raise a baby. And so I did that. So I was out of the job market for quite a long time. And today, getting back in the job market was so different. I mean, now I have an app downloaded for, that I could keep track of my paycheck, my hours, my schedule. It's all electronic. It's such a different world now.
Yeah. So first I got to ask, was it your health issues that caused your homelessness in the first place?
No, it was separation and divorce.
Okay. Now that happens a lot. And I can kind of relate because when I was homeless, I don't know if you remember MS-DOS, but we didn't even have Windows like we have today. So when I hit the streets of Hollywood, and then when I come out, they have Windows 3.1 with this mouse thing. And it's like a whole new world, you know. I mean, and I for you, it must, because technology has now even the speed and the rate of technology is increasing faster and faster. So for you, it must be even more just insane. And then I remember. The first gentleman that I ever helped get into housing, his name was Joseph. And I'm driving him around, and he's got to take care of paperwork. And he's like, what happened to pens? He kept on asking me because he had to sign these electronic things we all sign now. He's like, what happened to paper, you know? So, Mike, thank you very much. And Hebrew, you keep on ranting this thing about... San Antonio. I will talk at the end of this. I'll talk a little bit about San Antonio. San Antonio is not a good place for homeless people, and I'll explain that when we close, if you like. But let's keep this chat room positive. I've been so amazed. Every week there's been somebody we have to ban and kicked out, but usually the topic of homelessness often brings out freaks, and YouTube is known for freaks, but you guys have all been great, and thank you so much. And Mike G, thank you for your $2 donation. Greatly appreciate it. Again, not required, and I'm not even asking. People see it in the chat. It's the only way, and I believe that I should say thank you because every dollar counts. So I'm really grateful. Thank you very much. Wow, Charlie. That is really amazing, and you did a great job of not telling me, because I think I asked you about would you do the interview yesterday, and you go, I got great news, and you've been able to, So a couple people asked questions. I'm going to scroll back and get some of the questions for Charlie. If you have more questions, type them now, because by the time I get to the end. So, DeFlores asked, do homeless people get GR, government relief, which most people call welfare? You can answer this from a California thing. I will say naturally, it depends on the county. because welfare and GR is usually driven by a county. For example, people in Los Angeles are going to get different than people in San Francisco. And in many counties in the United States, like in Chicago, a single male, even if they're disabled, and cannot work and cannot get SSI. SSI, they refuse people that even desperately need it. We talked to Amanda last week, and she desperately needs it. However, but anyways. So, do you want to answer about government assistance?
Yeah, like you were talking about SSI. I had been denied like twice, which is usually 2 or 3 times is like the norm. You just have to be persistent. But I myself, I'm on EBT or food stamps, and I'm also on GR.
Yeah.
So my monthly allowance, honestly, is less than $400 a month that I have to work with.
Yeah, yeah, so you get probably 100 and something in food stamps.
Yes.
I hate food stamps because they stick to the roof of my mouth. I know I knew you would get that. Hopefully everybody out there will too. If you cannot laugh and have some fun, life really gets boring. So, but food, you get about 200, and then I think GR is 197 or something.
Yes.
So, how do you live?
Yes.
How do you live? I mean, I know I rented an apartment in Pasadena that is probably going for $1,500 now. It was about $1,250 back then. It wasn't in a great neighborhood. For $1,250 in Los Angeles for a 1-bedroom, it's hard to find. I mean, medium rents now, like in San Jose, which is at an extreme, is $1 million for medium to buy a property, and rents for 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom are insane across the country. So how do you survive on $400 a month?
For me, it's kind of easy after being through 2 marriages, having children, doing a lot of budgeting. We don't have coupons nowadays really anymore. We just have stores with rewards programs, but I used to clip and cut coupons like crazy. So I'm very good at being frugal and budgeting myself.
Yeah, but I mean, gosh, you're living outside. I mean, at $400 a month, there's no chance that you're going to go inside. So there's a couple
I have
other
to go shopping every day.
Yeah, there's no way that you can store food.
No.
So a couple people asked about mail, like how do you get your mail?
Well, actually, mail. That's a big problem. Being homeless, getting real mail nowadays. Trying to get a mailbox, even at the post office or smaller, like UPS stores or whatever, you need 2 pieces of ID. I only have my state ID, my driver's license. So they need either a passport, military ID, etc., which I don't have that other than just my state ID. But I was lucky enough to find a small mailbox rental place that they gave me a break and let me rent a mailbox. That was earlier this year in the summertime. So for about 6 months, it cost me $100.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And I was very, very lucky that they must have seen something in my face or in the tone of my voice, and I pleaded with them, and they gave me a break with just my state ID.
Yeah. A couple of real quick things here. So when I started these live streams, I didn't know that there would be a community that would rally around homelessness. I've been totally impressed. And one of the things now, I know there's 2 homeless people in the chat right now. And Brian from New York City, hello. I live in Syracuse right now. I'd love to come see you. someday soon. Hebrew, I think, is in Savannah, Georgia. Tommy's formerly homeless. There's a Mariposa or Megan. I have not been to Kansas City in a while, but I would love to. Keep the questions coming. Charlie's channel, he has a YouTube channel where he's blogging every day, or as often as he possibly can, is in the description. I'll put more later. His GoFundMe is also there. He just got a job, which is totally amazing. Congrats. I have a little post office box story I want to share. So I was sober, but I was homeless. I was going to AA meetings, sober for a little time. And a guy named Charlie, it's kind of interesting. We're doing it on the show where Charlie is the guest. But he was an old timer. He had like 25 years sober, and everybody looked up to him. And I shared that I was having a hard time about something. And after the meeting, Charlie came up, and we call it the evangelical handshake. He shook my hand, and there was a $20 bill. So, oh crap, I'm grateful for the $20 bill, but now I'm homeless and I'm a drug addict trying to stay sober. What am I going to do with that? So, I know at that particular time, I couldn't keep money in my pocket because I would go to the dope man. I couldn't. I had to get rid of money. I just couldn't keep money. So I started thinking, well, I could go get a good meal. I hadn't eaten a good meal. I could possibly get, like Charlie was saying, day passes for $7. 2 day passes. I can ride the, 3 day passes. Well, no, that would be for $7. That'd be $21. So I could get 2 day passes and maybe some McDonald's for that. So I was really, really trying to figure out what I was going to do with this $20. And I see this post office box 3 months for $15 advertised while I was walking. And I went in and I rented a post office box. And it gave me a key. And that key really meant the world to me because I actually had something. I don't know if I can explain this correctly, but when you go from having a key that unlocks a place where you have indoor plumbing, a shower, maybe a refrigerator and a roof and a bed, to not having anything or any keys, to finally having a key even though it was a post office box, that's pretty amazing. And it was really amazing. It was a big change in my life. So thank you, Charlie, for reminding me of that story. Bunch of people in the chat are saying thank you or congratulations about your job.
Thank you so much.
I got to figure out a way to get the chat up with the guest. I'm just not there yet, so we work on it a little bit. And then Tommy's been on SSI for a while. Liberty lived in Pasadena for a while and loves the channel. Thank you. Brian, who is homeless in New York, just subbed your channel. Charlie.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Andy is in the UK. Los Angeles. The cost of a bus and train ride will increase from $1.50 to $1.75, and monthly transit pass will jump 33%. From 75 and 100. Oh my gosh, this is Nicholson. A. Nicholson is reading that the passes are going up. I'm going to buy Charlie at least a month's worth of transportation. I will do that at the end of the show. Brian says yes. A key means a late rot. So I have a theory, and what do you think? I'll let you talk about this. Is that now people on GR welfare get an EBT card, and that's how you get your food stamps. You use a card, you swipe it. I believe that should be a bus pass. That if you're getting EBT, you should be able to have free bus rides. wherever you're going. What do you think about that idea?
I think it would help a great deal. It would be even just to get bus tokens right now from my doctors, because I suffer from depression, and the only time I really can get bus tokens is when I go to mental health and see my doctor. But transportation is very, very expensive. I have to go from Pasadena to Arcadia, and that's 2 buses, 2 different bus lines, and that's a $4 round trip, actually.
Right. And well, so a little funny story, and Charlie, we went to dinner with Dorit, who was a coworker of mine at the winter shelter, and I think we talked a little bit about how, as a case manager, I used to get in trouble with my bosses and all the other bosses. Well, it was a temp job. That means they're going to fire me in 3 months anyways. And you go into the job knowing you're going to get fired right away. And I was homeless, and they put so much bureaucracy over bus tokens. So they would give me a bag of hundreds of bus tokens, and then somebody like you would have to come up with a doctor's note or a job that you're, a note from a job. You're not even supposed to tell your employer. Most employers aren't going to hire you because you're homeless, yet you're supposed to get a slip from the employer so you can get bus tokens. It was just ridiculous. So,
yeah.
I know some people sold them for cigarettes, but you know what? Majority of people just needed to get from A to B. And so I would give the bus tokens away, and I didn't have the doctor's notes, and I didn't have the slips from the employers, and they would scream at me. I mean, they were, and you're talking maybe, to them, and I get it, because homeless service is so being cut with money. It's really, they're trying to shrink everything. They're, what they say, penny smart and pound foolish. But if we were able to have the EBT card be a bus pass, and why politicians in the city would say, well, that's going to reduce the amount of money we make on bus fare. But by being able to provide bus fare for families and individuals who are low or no income, they would have better health care because they'd be able to get to their doctors. That would reduce taxpayer money because they wouldn't be accessing emergency services. And somebody like you, Charlie, would be able to look for work, and then get to work.
Yes. Yeah, it would make things so much easier. I mean, for people that need, especially if you need to get from point A, even for a doctor's appointment, it makes it that much more difficult not having the ability to, you get on a bus, and I've seen it many, many times where I've seen a homeless person get on the bus and, I don't have any money. And a lot of bus drivers are pretty cool. They'll allow them to get in, and some don't. Some are pretty mean and nasty. Get off my bus, and then they'll curse at them. And it's like, public transportations, they have an amount every year that's at a loss, that they can write off at a loss.
Yeah.
And when I hear a bus driver saying, get off my bus, it's not your bus. You're just simply a driver.
Yeah.
You can let them on for free. And I've seen some people that really need help, and they just refuse to let them on the bus.
Yeah, we got to do something. So, Brody, I'm glad you're part of this community too. A couple of questions for Charlie. Let me first go through a bunch of people saying they subbed your channel and that they are giving you congratulations. Somebody asked, Ben asked, what are your favorite meals and hobbies, and how do you pass the time?
My favorite meal is chicken wings and soup.
What kind of soup?
Soup is my comfort food, almost any kind of soup. But honestly, Minestrone.
Come on, fist bump me.
Yeah, I love minestrone, and
I love soup too.
My hobby is photography, and doing the videos and the blog and everything is a new form of photography for me. I'm a part of a Facebook group here in Pasadena where it's people that walk around in Pasadena, take photos, and we share photographs on our daily walks, our daily adventures here and around and throughout Pasadena. And I have quite a bit of following that they love all my photos that I share.
Awesome.
To me, to share a photograph with something that I like and people like means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. So if it's a photo that I can share with you or the entire world and somebody will like it, that's very meaningful to me.
Yeah. And then Kathy T asked, and I'm going to respond to it a little, and then I'm going to give it to you because I have not lived in Pasadena for a long time. Do local churches ever help out with food, clothes, and shelter? So if you're watching earlier, Kathy, we talked about a cold weather shelter, and that's being run at a church on Lake Avenue, I believe, right?
Yes.
They're opening up their doors with what they can. That is one. I'm sure there's other churches that feed, but that is where there could be a lot of improvement. I mean, I think that the faith-based organizations, not just Christian churches, but temples and mosques and synagogues, really need to focus more on taking care of their neighbors, because I believe we could end homelessness tomorrow just by the evangelical Christian church if they stepped up to end homelessness. But I got to do a show just on faith-based, and maybe next week on faith-based in homeless services. But so Charlie, churches, are they helping in the area, and how do they help, and how could they improve and help more? Good question, Kathy.
There's a couple here that do feedings. There's one that feeds on Monday mornings. There's another one that feeds on Sunday evenings around 5 p.m. Sunday morning, one of the big churches like in Sierra Madre comes to Central Park, and at 9 o'clock in the morning, they feed breakfast. They have a great setup. Breakfast burritos, chili, pastries, sometimes, actually almost all the time, coffee, juice, and there's a couple of small Baptist groups that go around and actually look for homeless people, and what we call goodie bags. They'll give out goodie bags, which is hygiene kits, maybe some chips, bottled water all the time, maybe some fruit, bananas, what have you. There's quite a few here in Pasadena. There's no possible way that you can starve here in Pasadena. I'm not saying that there's an abundance, but you cannot starve here in the city. Yeah. For what little we have, it's okay.
That's food.
They could be better. Yes, it could be a lot better. And I feel that churches, all faith-based, anything that's religion, could end homelessness tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, if they banded together, I believe in my heart that in this country they could end homelessness.
Yeah, I do too. So when they're handing out goodie bags, are they trying to win you to Jesus? Are they trying to win you to, Harry Krishna doesn't give out goodie bags, but they try to get you to a weekly meal. And they're great cooks, but there's always usually this agenda, you know what I mean? When religious groups come out and they're usually evangelizing for you to come to whatever, win the lost or whatever. Does that happen a lot?
There's maybe one or two that do. They'll have like during Wednesday at Central Park, there's a group that has like a kind of like a Bible study And then after a half hour of Bible study, then they'll break out with pizza, like Domino's Pizza or whatever. But
Wow.
yeah, they try to bring in religion before they'll feed you.
Yeah.
For them, it's a must.
Yeah, that's a thing. So I'm going to try to say your name here. Prasanna. It's a beautiful name. Thank you for the $2 donation. And A. Nicholson, again, thank you for the donation. You guys are wonderful. Don't expect that. Tonight it's going to Charlie. So again, I hope you all hitting his GoFundMe page down below. So Liberty asks, she says, I remember seeing several homeless folks dumpster diving. Mark, I'm wondering if there's several homeless folks dumpster diving in Pasadena. Did people dumpster dive in Pasadena?
Yes. Yes, of course they do. Yes. Yeah. It's sad, but yeah, I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it here in Pasadena and wherever I go, Duarte, Hollywood, Arcadia. I see that. Yeah, of course they're going to do that. Some people are worse off than others, and you just see that. Yeah.
My friend Jocelyn, who lives downtown, she's been downtown on the streets in this alley for 15 years, and she dumpster dives every day. And when I walk around the corner and she's in that dumpster, it breaks my heart. Now, if you Google Route 66, Perfect Storm of Homelessness, I hosted a show on homelessness in Los Angeles, and they featured Jocelyn, and they have footage of her in the dumpster, and it's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. There's a homeless friend of ours in the group, Kelly, who travels the country. She's a traveler, homeless youth traveler, and she swears by it. She is a dumpster diving diva. I guess that would be it. I mean, but all kinds of great stuff. Now, Anna asked what the donations go for. So if you're talking about the super chat, it's this thing that YouTube has that, there's a lot of really famous YouTubers, and if you donate, they make money, but then you get seen in chat. So that feature is automatically on. I'm not trying to raise money with super chat for a bunch of different reasons. Tonight, we're getting Charlie, a bus pass. But Anna, donations to invisible people help to, let me put it this way. The reason people's inability to relate to homelessness, or not being able to relate to homelessness, is our biggest obstacle in ending it. And this channel, Invisible People, is the only education-based nonprofit working to end homelessness. On any given month right now, and I've just lost a major donor, any given month, we barely break $2,000. That's not even enough to hire somebody, much less provide services. But on the other side is we reach millions and millions of people every week educating about homelessness. So over the last 8 years, I've been doing this. I work other jobs because there's not even enough money to hire me, and I do this in my spare time. I mean, literally housing programs have been created, feeding programs have been created. People have been reunited with their family. One gentleman even found his wife, and they just got married this year. It was really interesting. He wanted a t-shirt shop. He was an artist. So I put a link in the bio or in the description, and somebody helped him get a t-shirt shop. And then some girl in another country saw his video, flew in. They dated for years, and then they just got married. So miracles happen. We also run an online support group. But, the money donated to invisible people, and we do, like tonight, we're going to get Charlie a bus pass, and there isn't a day that doesn't go by where we help some homeless person in some capacity. But we don't provide direct services. There's a lot of wonderful nonprofits that feed and clothe and do all that stuff. We're about ending it. We're not about getting Charlie food. We're about getting Charlie out of homelessness where he can buy his own food. And that's the big difference. So donations go to that. And speaking of which, John, thank you. Thank you, John, for the $5. You're awesome. People are writing in here, hey, Ben wrote, I look in dumpsters and I'm not even homeless. Yeah, there's a lot of people, they call it food recovery, that does a lot of stuff. And Tommy's been going through the chat listing people is that feed, and there's a lot. Most of the rescue missions feed, Tommy. In fact, I've been to that rescue mission in Anchorage, Alaska. And what is interesting is there was a what was it called? There was a soup kitchen. It was really wonderful, but it was Alaska, right? So picture this, Charlie, because this is Alaska and it's, cold, but the soup kitchen just had picnic tables outside and they gave everybody a cup of stew with a piece of bread. And it was outside. That's all they had. And it was really amazing. And, So Nicholson, the link is down where you see the big S. But again, I'd rather have you go hit Charlie's GoFundMe page. Charlie, any last words? We've been talking for an hour and 1 minute now. That's awesome. Beans Cafe. That's it, Tommy. Beans Cafe. Oh my gosh. It was wonderful. So I'm not big on feeding programs. I think there's an overabundance of food and there's food insecurity in this country. It's just not really in the homeless population. Seniors, a lot of low income people. But Beans Cafe was really wonderful. And it was outside. I was there in January. It was cold. It was Alaska. I want to get back to Alaska. Gosh, I want to get back to Alaska. So, Charlie, is there anything you would want people to know about homelessness that they don't know?
One thing, if you happen to see or walk by or drive by and see someone standing on the freeway ramp or out on the street, don't look at them with disgust. We are people. We are human in a different situation. We're not driving a car. Don't be afraid to give them change or $1. Don't question, oh, well, if I give them $1, they're probably just going to go buy alcohol or drugs or whatever. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Give them the money without any kind of contract or anything. If you're lucky enough to be housed, have a job, and have a family, when you get that paycheck, whether it's a paper paycheck or direct deposit, remember this: your boss doesn't ask you what you do with your money, nor should you ask that homeless person what are they going to do with that $1 or that change that you're going to give them. Simple as that.
Yeah, I was earlier, if you follow me on social media, I talked to a group of probably 4th or 5th grade girls. And one of the questions that they had was, what do you do when you're sick? I had some wonderful questions. And one of them was, what are you going to do when you're sick? Well, the food stamps doesn't buy cough medicine. There's certain things that only money can buy. I had a friend of mine who was in front of a CVS drugstore. He had a sign, I need a toothbrush. And people kept on putting, you know, a number 5 meal, a number 6 meal, a Happy Meal at his feet. So he had 4 and 5 bags of food, but he still didn't have the toothbrush. So, you know, we think, well, gosh, we can't give it to this homeless person because they're a drug addict. Well, first off, not every homeless person is on drugs. In fact, the percentage is slightly higher. Well, I shouldn't say slightly. The percentage is higher than the general population, but not by much. And homeless people are outside. They're going to the bathroom outside. It sucks. You know, I mean, at least they have a reason. And I'm not justifying alcohol abuse or drug addiction. I'm just saying let's put it in perspective. So there are times when money is something that, you know, and even if they aren't. So when I was wasted in Hollywood, if I didn't get drugs, I would have gotten dope sick. If I'm dope sick, I'm vulnerable. And if I'm vulnerable sleeping at night out in the park or trying to sleep at night, I'm mugged and I'm dead. So that saved my life. So any last words, Charlie? I don't want to keep you up too, well, gosh, it's 3-hour difference. I'm late. You know, I'm like thinking you got to get to sleep for your new job.
Just thank you for this opportunity. And thank you for also letting me share my news on your channel before my channel. Because I just wanted to share that with you. And I knew that you'd really enjoy that. You'd be tickled about that. So.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. Very cool. Well, you have a good night, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark. You have a great evening, and everybody, you have a great evening also.
Yeah, stay safe, bro.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Hey, folks. So we've been doing this for about an hour. Figured we'd chat for a little bit. So, oops, I'm going to end that. And let's see. Liberty, are you from Alaska? Oh my gosh, I would love. So I'll tell you a little story about Alaska. I was born here in New York where it's freezing cold, upstate New York. I hate cold. And I moved to Los Angeles almost 30 years ago to get out of the cold. And a friend who I had met who worked at Sony Pictures, she was from Anchorage. And one year, 22 people, Inuit, Native Americans, passed away. Homeless people were dying. And it's interesting because she would email me every time somebody died that year. She would email me, and I'd be like, "No, I mean, it's heartbreaking, but I'm not going. It's heartbreaking, I'm not going. I'm heartbreaking, it's not going." And finally, probably, I don't know, around the 10th one, I said, "Okay, I'll go, but it has to be summer." And she responded, "Well, that's not when they're dying." So I figured out a way, just like now, I'm unemployed without income. I don't have any jobs coming up. I got about 2 months in rent. It's a little bit scary, but I've been doing this for a while. So it's a choice of, do I do Invisible People full time or do I go back to work full time? I can't do both. So Invisible People is just too important to give up. But anyways, I went to Alaska, and it was the one place I said I'd never go visit, and I loved it. I want to go back. I've tried to go back. But Tommy, you've been to Beans Cafe? That is why. Is it Beans Cafe? I'd have to scroll back up, but I really would love to. There is, what's the other big city? So there's Anchorage. There's another big city in Alaska. Juneau is where you are, right? Liberty, that's what you're saying. There's another city that was trying to get me up there. I got to do an Alaska tour. That would be fun. Here I am. I still hate snow. I hate cold, and I'm talking about staying in Alaska for a bit. So, Anna, that if you're asking what donations would go to, it would go to going up there because there's wonderful, wonderful people who are low or no income in Alaska and everywhere else, whose stories aren't being told. You know, let's take Charlie, for example. Charlie has been homeless in Pasadena for a year. You know, if you look at the media in Los Angeles and the politicians and everybody there, homelessness is getting worse, but we're working on it. Well, Charlie's still outside. It's been a year. You know, that's the people we need to hear from. We need to hear from. And in fact, there's another... No, I don't. There's another homeless services I visited in Anchorage that really changed me. So you're on an island. Wow, that's got to be wonderful. That's got to be wonderful. Now, Tommy, is Beans Cafe the one that had outside? I think there was another shelter. It was like Brothers or something that was like 30 days in or 30 days out. I toured it, but it was really, who gets their life back in 30 days? Hey, Megan, I do. My email is mark@invisiblepeople.tv. I don't respond to YouTube emails well. Please forgive me. I got a lot of different communications all over the place. If you email me, or if you at Hardly Normal is probably one of the best ways to at least get my attention, is my main Twitter feed. Reach out, and I would really like to go to Kansas City. I lived in St. Louis for a while, so I did visit quite often. I don't remember being Fairbanks. That's it. Thank you, Liberty. So there's a homeless service organization in Fairbanks that is trying to get me there. Maybe I got to reach out to them. Yeah, well, right now, somebody just wrote politicians could care less about homeless people, and with what's going on, I try not to be political in these chats and feeds, but with what's going on with the government and everything, it's very discouraging. It's not just homeless people. I mean, people that have private planes got a tax cut. So if you own your own private jet, and to step into owning a private jet is a lot of money. I mean, it's probably $150,000 a year in just in maintenance and upkeep. But now it's a little less because you don't have to pay taxes on that. Thank you, Republicans. So, yes, gosh, Tommy, you are a wealth of information of homeless services. So everybody, I enjoyed tonight's show. I've enjoyed every show. As I said when I'm starting it off, this is episode 4. It's really probably episode 7, but a couple of them were just tests. Hopefully you guys liked the interviews with homeless people. Yeah, last week was Addie. Addie didn't join us tonight. I'll have to reach out to her and see if she's okay. So where I'm going with all this is if you have some ideas of what you would like to see as far as guests or topics, please let me know. I'm going to try to start integrating maybe some service providers, and we could talk about homelessness and some different things. Maybe solutions and maybe even, who knows? I don't know where this is going to go, but I knew that I needed to start reaching out to you guys, the YouTube community, as a community, and I've been just really blown away at the support that you guys have been giving this channel on these live streams. I am grateful. I am completely grateful. So, any last questions before I say, hey, John, I don't know. I don't know if I thanked you earlier. Thank you for the donation. Greatly appreciated. Hey, John, thanks. Thanks and good night to you too. And thank you, Megan. Yeah, it's funny on a technical aspect. I rigged up an old TV over here so I could look, because last week when I was interviewing Addie and Amanda, I felt like, I was looking like this and not at the camera, which probably was awkward for all of you. So I set up this TV. I got it all working. I call it Mickey Mouse. It's a miracle that I was able to figure out how to send the signal out to there. But as soon as I hit the chat thing, the feed goes away. So I don't know how I'm going to make that happen. So thank you. Thank you, A. Nicholson. It's wonderful. Yeah, I think this is going to grow into something. And again, I'm not really sure about, I'll tell you why I picked Sunday night. I actually picked Thursday night. We were starting at, and Grummenheimer, this is exactly, so right now I'm doing shows Sunday night at 9 o'clock East Coast time, which is 6 p.m. West Coast time. It was I originally started on Thursdays. I thought that would be a good night. Sundays, like tonight, I got busy and then this comes up, but I'm going to make it happen. Being the hour difference, I don't want to be too late on the East Coast. So if I do 10 or 11, that's getting pretty late. And, you'd also don't want to be, the West Coast thing. You got to be conscious of that time. So right now, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. East Coast, 6 p.m. West Coast. But I'm open if you guys have better time slots, and it might move. I still need a name for this thing. I don't know if you guys saw the thumbnail. I worked extra hard to do a special thumbnail. And from Roberto Blake, shout out to Roberto Blake for the template. And he has a YouTube starter kit. So if you're a YouTuber, I grabbed one of his templates and made that live thing with Charlie. And so anyways, I'm going to go. I'm starting to lose my voice. We've been doing this for a little over an hour. Much love to you all. It was a marvelous evening. Thank you for being so nice to dude, he announced that he got a job. Oh my gosh. Isn't that cool? That is so awesome. Anyways, you guys have a marvelous, marvelous night. Greatly appreciate every one of you, and hopefully you have a great week coming up. Peace out.